There are moments when the loudest voices in the world pause, not because the noise has ended, but because wisdom has quietly entered the room. When a mother speaks about a son the world thinks it already understands, something shifts. Not because she is trying to defend him or elevate him, but because she speaks from a place that existed long before fame, before headlines, before the pressure of expectations and the glare of global attention. A mother sees the human being first. And when that mother has walked through hardship, reinvention, criticism, and courage in her own life, her words carry a gravity that cannot be manufactured. Elon Musk is often discussed as an idea rather than a person. He is framed as a symbol of ambition, disruption, controversy, brilliance, excess, risk, and vision. People argue about him endlessly, praising him as a genius or criticizing him as reckless. But behind all of that is a child who once needed guidance, encouragement, discipline, and belief. His mother's voice reminds us that no extraordinary life begins as extraordinary. Every story starts small, fragile, uncertain, and shaped by choices made when no one is watching. What makes her words matter is not celebrity proximity. It is perspective. She has lived through cycles that many people never see: poverty and success, fear and confidence, invisibility and recognition. She understands that life is not a straight line upward. It bends, breaks, restarts, and demands resilience. When she speaks, she is not offering theories. She is offering lived experience. She speaks often about independence, not as a slogan, but as survival. There were times when comfort was not guaranteed, when stability had to be built from scratch. In those moments, complaining would not have changed reality. Responsibility did. Discipline did. Showing up every day, even when exhausted, even when afraid, even when misunderstood, became a form of quiet power. That lesson, passed on not through lectures but through example, shaped a mindset that does not wait for permission to try. What stands out is how she reframes struggle. She does not romanticize suffering, but she refuses to treat it as shame. Difficulty is not a verdict, it is training. Failure is not a label, it is information. When a child grows up seeing problems approached as puzzles rather than punishments, fear loses its grip. The world becomes something to engage with, not hide from. She also speaks about allowing children to be different without forcing them to fit into expectations that feel safe but small. Not every child thrives in the same environment. Not every mind moves at the same rhythm. When curiosity is protected instead of corrected, innovation becomes possible. She did not try to shrink her son's questions to make others comfortable. She let them expand, even when they seemed impractical. Even when they invited skepticism, that kind of support is rare. It requires patience, humility, and the willingness to let a child become someone you cannot fully predict. Many parents try to protect their children from risk by limiting their dreams. She chose a harder path, teaching responsibility while allowing ambition. Teaching realism without killing imagination. Teaching resilience without demanding perfection. What makes her message powerful is that it applies far beyond one famous family. She speaks to anyone who has ever felt behind, overlooked, or unsure. She reminds people that reinvention has no expiration date. That starting over is not failure, it is courage. That confidence is not something you wait for. It is something you build by keeping promises to yourself. She herself became a visible success later in life, in an industry that often dismisses age. That alone challenges a deeply ingrained narrative. Society tells people, especially women, that time is something they lose. Her life suggests the opposite: time is something you use. Each decade brings clarity, strength, and the freedom to choose differently. Reinvention is not denial of the past, it is respect for growth. When she talks about criticism, she does not encourage defensiveness. She encourages focus. Not every opinion deserves your energy. Not every voice deserves your response. The world will always have something to say, especially when you are doing something unusual. Progress has never been built by consensus. It has been built by individuals willing to tolerate misunderstanding long enough for results to speak. She understands that public judgment is often shallow because it sees outcomes without context. People see success and assume ease. They see confidence and assume arrogance. They see risk-taking and assume recklessness. What they do not see are the years of uncertainty, the nights of doubt, the weight of responsibility, and the cost of persistence. Her voice adds depth where the world prefers headlines. There is also a gentleness in her message that contrasts sharply with the harshness of online discourse. She does not speak in absolutes. She does not demand admiration. She invites reflection. She reminds people that greatness does not excuse poor behavior, but complexity should invite understanding. Human beings are not one-dimensional, no matter how famous they become. Perhaps the most important thing she offers is permission. Permission to try again. Permission to be ambitious without apology. Permission to define success on your own terms. Permission to be resilient without becoming hard. Permission to live a life that makes sense to you, even if it confuses others. Her words matter because they slow us down. In a world addicted to speed, outrage, and instant judgment, she speaks with the calm of someone who has nothing left to prove. That calm is contagious. It reminds us that lasting impact is rarely loud in the beginning. It grows quietly, fueled by consistency, courage, and values that do not change with trends. She does not tell people to chase fame. She tells them to chase competence. To learn skills. To take responsibility. To be useful. To contribute. Recognition, if it comes, is a byproduct, not the goal. This perspective is grounding in a culture obsessed with visibility. It shifts attention from being seen to being capable. At its core, her message is about agency. You may not control your circumstances, but you control your response. You may not be born into ease, but you can build strength. You may not be understood, but you can be persistent. You may fail, but you are not finished. When a mother who has lived fully, struggled openly, and evolved continuously speaks, she is not just talking about her child. She is speaking to anyone standing at the edge of self-doubt, wondering if effort is worth it. Her answer, spoken gently but firmly, is yes, not because success is guaranteed. Not because the world will be fair. But because choosing courage over fear changes who you become, regardless of outcome. And that, in the end, matters more than any headline ever could. There is something quietly revolutionary about the way she speaks of balance. Not balance as perfection, but balance as honesty. She does not pretend that raising driven, unconventional children is easy. She acknowledges the strain, the worry, the moments of fear when the future feels uncertain and the path unclear. Yet she also emphasizes trust, not blind trust, but trust built on observation, effort, and values. When you see a child working relentlessly, thinking deeply, and refusing to give up, your role shifts from controller to supporter. She talks about letting children solve their own problems, even when it is uncomfortable to watch. Stepping in too quickly robs them of confidence. Struggle, when paired with guidance rather than rescue, becomes a teacher. This philosophy stands in contrast to a world increasingly eager to smooth every obstacle. Her belief is simple: strength is developed, not inherited, and it grows only when tested. Another theme that runs through her words is gratitude, not performative gratitude, but grounded appreciation. She does not ignore privilege when it exists, but she never allows it to erase effort. Gratitude, for her, is not about feeling lucky, it is about staying humble. About remembering where you started. About respecting the process. It is what keeps ambition from turning into entitlement. She also challenges the idea that confidence must be loud. True confidence, she suggests, is quiet. It does not need to announce itself or demand validation. It shows up as preparation, consistency, and calm under pressure. It is the ability to keep going even when applause fades or criticism grows louder. That kind of confidence is built at home, long before the world is watching. When she speaks about fear, she treats it as information rather than an enemy. Fear signals that something matters. It points to growth. Instead of avoiding it, she encourages understanding it. What exactly are you afraid of? Failure? Judgment? Loss? Once named, fear loses its power to paralyze. It becomes something you can work with, rather than something that controls you. Her perspective on success is refreshingly unromantic. She does not describe it as constant happiness or ease. Success, in her view, is responsibility multiplied. More people depend on you. More decisions carry weight. More mistakes are visible. This honesty strips success of its fantasy and replaces it with maturity. It prepares people not just to chase achievement, but to carry it well. She is also clear about the importance of character when ambition grows large. Intelligence without integrity is dangerous. Talent without discipline is fragile. Vision without empathy is hollow. These are not lessons you learn from books alone. They are absorbed through environment, through watching how adults handle stress, conflict, and disappointment. Her life became a living curriculum. What makes her voice resonate is that she does not separate personal growth from professional growth. How you live is how you work. How you treat people when no one is watching eventually shows up in public. She reminds people that reputation is built quietly, through patterns, not moments. And once built, it either protects you or exposes you. She speaks often about adaptability, the willingness to learn, unlearn, and relearn. The world changes. Industries evolve. What worked once may not work again. Clinging to identity instead of skill is risky. She encourages curiosity at every age, treating learning not as a phase but as a lifelong habit. This mindset keeps people relevant, resilient, and mentally alive. There is also a deep respect in her words for effort that goes unseen. She understands that the most important work often happens in obscurity. Before recognition, before reward, before validation. This is where discipline is forged. This is where habits are built. This is where people quit or don't. She honors those quiet seasons because she has lived them. Her message carries particular weight for those who feel late to life, late to success, late to confidence. She dismantles the myth of timelines. There is no universal schedule for fulfillment. Some people bloom early. Others gather strength slowly and arrive later with depth and clarity. Comparison, she warns, is a thief not only of joy but of direction. When she reflects on mistakes, she does not rewrite them as destiny. She treats them as chapters, not conclusions. Regret, in her view, is useful only if it informs better choices. Otherwise, it becomes a cage. Forgiving yourself is not indulgence, it is necessary for growth. Without it, people stay stuck trying to punish themselves instead of improving. What lingers most in her words is compassion for self and others. She understands that everyone is fighting something invisible. That harsh judgment often says more about the judge than the judged. She encourages kindness not as weakness, but as strength. As clarity. As confidence that does not need to diminish others to stand tall. Her voice matters because it humanizes ambition. It reminds us that behind every extraordinary outcome is an ordinary human navigating doubt, fatigue, hope, and responsibility. It invites us to look beyond results and ask better questions. What values built this? What sacrifices supported it? What lessons can we apply without copying the path? In listening to her, people are not just hearing about one life or one family. They are being reminded of something older and deeper, that belief, consistency, and courage shape destinies more reliably than talent alone. That encouragement given early echoes for decades. That how we speak to those we love becomes the voice they carry inside when the world is loud and unforgiving, and perhaps that is why her words linger. They are not chasing attention. They are offering grounding. In a time obsessed with speed and spectacle, she speaks of patience and substance. In a culture hungry for shortcuts, she honors endurance. In a world quick to judge, she chooses understanding. Her message does not promise ease. It promises meaning. And for those willing to listen, that may be the most important thing of all. There is also an understated wisdom in how she speaks about responsibility to oneself. Long before responsibility to an audience, a company, or the world, there is responsibility to your own standards. She emphasizes doing what you said you would do, even when no one is checking. Especially when no one is checking. This quiet integrity becomes an anchor when life grows chaotic. Fame, criticism, pressure, none of it can replace the stability that comes from knowing who you are when the lights are off. She does not glorify burnout, and this is important. Hard work, yes. Obsession. Sometimes. But never at the cost of losing your humanity. She understands that exhaustion distorts judgment and erodes joy. Rest, in her philosophy, is not laziness, it is maintenance. You do not prove dedication by breaking yourself. You prove wisdom by knowing when to pause so you can continue with clarity. When she speaks about courage, it is not framed as fearlessness. Courage is moving forward while afraid. It is choosing action over avoidance. She recognizes that waiting for confidence before acting is a trap. Confidence often comes after the leap, not before. This idea alone frees many people who feel stuck, waiting to feel ready before starting. Readiness is built in motion. Her reflections on public scrutiny are especially relevant in a digital age where opinion spreads faster than truth. She advises detachment without disengagement. Be informed, but not consumed. A life lived entirely in reaction to others becomes smaller, not safer. She encourages choosing principles over popularity, long-term impact over short-term approval. This is not easy advice, but it is honest. She also touches on the cost of leadership, though she does not always use that word. Leadership isolates. It demands decisions that will not please everyone. It invites projection, people assigning motives, intentions, and character traits without knowing the full story. Her message is not to seek leadership, but to accept its weight if you find yourself there. Complaining about the burden does not lighten it, preparation does. There is tenderness in how she speaks about family, not as a perfect unit, but as a foundation. Support does not mean agreement. Love does not mean control. She respects individuality while remaining present. This balance is rare and difficult. It requires trusting that values, once planted deeply enough, will guide choices even when distance grows. She does not shy away from acknowledging mistakes made as a parent or as an individual. This honesty removes the illusion that successful lives are error-free. Growth comes not from avoiding mistakes, but from responding to them with humility and adjustment. Apologizing when wrong, learning when humbled, and moving forward without bitterness, these are signs of maturity she quietly models. Her message resonates strongly with those who feel overwhelmed by expectations. Society often pressures people to do everything, be everything, and succeed everywhere at once. She simplifies the equation: do what matters, do it well, and let go of the rest. Focus is not limitation, it is power. Energy scattered achieves little. Energy directed builds worlds. She also speaks to the importance of self-respect, especially for those who have been underestimated. You teach people how to treat you by what you tolerate. Boundaries are not walls, they are definitions. They protect your time, your energy, and your values. Saying no is not selfish when it preserves your ability to say yes to what truly matters. Another quiet lesson in her words is patience with process. Results arrive on their own timeline, not ours. Forcing outcomes often leads to shortcuts that cost more in the long run. She encourages trusting the work even when progress feels invisible. Seeds grow underground long before they break the surface. Impatience digs them up too early. She reframes success as contribution rather than conquest. What are you building? Who does it help? What problem does it solve? This lens removes ego from ambition and replaces it with purpose. Purpose sustains effort longer than recognition ever could. When motivation fades, meaning remains. Her voice carries particular comfort for those who feel misunderstood. She understands that being different often comes with loneliness. Not fitting neatly into expectations can be painful before it becomes powerful. She reminds people that belonging is not about blending in, it is about standing firmly in who you are and finding those who resonate with that truth. There is also a subtle reminder in her words about gratitude for the present moment. Not waiting for life to become perfect before appreciating it. Joy postponed is joy denied. Even in struggle, there are moments of learning, connection, and clarity worth acknowledging. Gratitude does not erase difficulty, but it softens its edges. What continues to make her message matter is its steadiness. It does not chase trends. It does not inflame emotions for attention. It does not promise shortcuts. It simply points, again and again, toward responsibility, courage, patience, and self-belief. These are not glamorous ideas, but they are durable ones. As people listen, what they often hear is not advice, but reassurance. That uncertainty is normal. That struggle does not disqualify you. That growth is uneven. That starting over is allowed. That becoming someone new does not betray who you were. In a world that constantly asks, "What do you have to say?" her presence answers a deeper question: how should we live when no one is applauding? And her answer, spoken through experience rather than theory, continues to matter because it gives people something rare: not hype, not noise, but grounding. As her words settle, what remains is not instruction, but orientation. She does not point people toward a single destination, she points them inward. Toward values that endure when circumstances change. Toward habits that sustain when motivation fades. Toward self-respect that does not depend on applause. This is why her message lingers. It does not tell people who to become. It reminds them that becoming is their responsibility. She understands that the world often confuses visibility with value. loudness with leadership, speed with progress. Her life quietly contradicts those assumptions. She shows that substance outlasts spectacle, that consistency outperforms intensity, that dignity compounds over time. These truths are not exciting, but they are stabilizing, and in unstable times, stability is a gift. There is also a profound realism in her acceptance of imperfection. She does not chase the illusion of a flawless life. She respects effort more than outcomes. She knows that people are shaped by what they endure, not just by what they achieve. This perspective softens ambition without weakening it. It allows people to strive without self-contempt, to grow without self-hatred. When she speaks about legacy, it is never about monuments or memory. It is about impact. About what your presence made possible for others. About whether your courage gave someone else permission to try. Whether your kindness made someone's burden lighter. Whether your example expanded what others believed was possible. Legacy, in her view, is lived daily, not declared at the end. She also brings attention back to responsibility in an age quick to assign blame. Circumstances matter, yes. Systems matter. But so do choices. Empowerment does not come from denying difficulty, it comes from engaging with it. She respects accountability because she knows it is the foundation of freedom. Without it, people remain trapped in resentment and waiting. Her message carries particular weight for parents, mentors, and leaders, those whose influence extends beyond themselves. She reminds them that what they model matters more than what they say. Children and observers absorb tone, consistency, and behavior far more deeply than advice. Integrity, once witnessed, becomes contagious. At the same time, her words are deeply personal for individuals walking alone. Those who feel unseen. Those who are rebuilding after loss. Those who doubt whether effort still makes sense. To them, her voice says, continue. Not blindly. Not recklessly. But deliberately. With patience. With courage. With self-trust. She does not promise that the world will reward goodness or effort fairly. She is too honest for that. But she suggests something more durable, that living in alignment with your values creates a form of inner stability no external chaos can fully dismantle. That peace, earned rather than borrowed, becomes a quiet form of success. In the end, what makes her words matter is not who her son is, but who she is. A woman who has lived through change without losing herself. Who has faced judgment without becoming bitter. Who has succeeded without becoming detached. Her voice carries the authority of experience, not position, and perhaps that is the most inspiring part of all. Not the proximity to greatness, but the reminder that greatness is not a personality trait, it is a practice. One built through responsibility, resilience, humility, and care. One available, in different forms, to anyone willing to do the work, when the noise fades and the opinions move on. Her message remains quietly where it belongs, with those still building, still learning, still choosing courage over comfort. And in that quiet space, it continues to matter.